It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it, knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Thunderdome broadcasting live. That's Ben. I'm Brooks. You're listening to Topic Thunder, the #1 podcast my father still refuses to listen to. And it's a line in the sand. Now it's a line in the sand, Dan.
I thought this was going to be the week.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath. And against all medical advice, don't hold your breath. But maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there someday. Maybe we won't. And the show Rapapa goes on. But yeah, if you like the music up front, I forget to plug it all the time. That's my friend. His name is Biz. Look him up. They call me Biz. That's his tag name. Look him up. He's a very, very talented man. Does music, does clothing. Speaking of clothing, Ben, the third Topic Thunder
I think I like that one the best.
This is the I think I flipped my camera so it's probably mirrored, but it's the lightning round specific to Topic Thunder. It's the lightning round shirt.
Man. We need to start mass producing those. Or at least one more set because I need them.
I think there have been people that have been hitting me up on the side like, hello folks, welcome to the Thunderdome. Just saying like they would wear one. So basically we're just kind of trying all three here, making sure the t-shirts still feel good after a couple washings. And then I think honestly we'll probably throw up some t-shirts.
A fucking mug, I swear to God.
Right. That's like the easiest one probably to do too. So
we need someone to come up with a logo. Have we settled on a logo yet? Or are we just kind of
still kind of in the drawing stages there?
Taking what's the right word for this? Taking auditions, maybe? That's not the right word for it. If anybody out there is artistically inclined and wants to come up with a cool Topic Thunder logo, that would be helpful.
Actually, speaking of my friend Biz, I showed him some of the concepts there he is right there. I showed him some concepts and he kind of came back with some other concepts. So I'm taking all that, like I want ideally I want some sort of I want a sticker. I want a mug, obviously.
A t-shirt. Yes, I would totally put a sticker on my car. Yes.
Laptops,
whatever,
book bags. Like if I could get a patch too.
Ooh.
All right, now we're just doing show prep here on we're doing the dirty stuff in front. This is welcome to Gigi's Mixology Corner here. Special segment on Topic Thunder. We have a drink and we have the world famous. Everybody loves the cool stir, the disco ball drink stir.
And then we find out how many Brooks bolts they drink gets.
Yeah, well, yes, we will. We'll get to that before we get to the next segment. How about that?
Yes, at least not in the next segment.
So we're gonna check this out. I have no idea what's in this anymore. I know there's ice, there's clear liquid, and a slice of orange. Hang on.
Ooh. I love that mixer. That is pretty dope.
I think that's not mezcal, so I'll probably say the tequila.
Tequila. That's
probably a little lime juice, but I think maybe the grapefruit bitters.
Ooh, okay. I use
vodka. I'm wrong right off the bat here.
There you go. Well, a vodka and tequila are clear liquor. I'm good, man. I'm in all day on that.
This is a summer drink, and this is a very nice. Like you're sitting outside, like it's nice at night. You're in a lawn chair or something, and this is okay. It's orange
juice. It's orange juice, lime juice, and grapefruit bitters.
Yeah, the grapefruit bitters.
Texas Ted in the house, everybody.
Hey, Ryan Hansen and Texas Ted joining us. I think for the first time.
Yes, yes. He's talking about the Chilton. That is my wife Adrienne. That's her favorite drink. That's a Texas thing. I don't know if everybody really knows what a Chilton is. I've never had one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
This is nice, and this will
Brooks Bolts.
This is last week's drink was really 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 top notch. That was the mezcal drink. Yeah. That was a 4.5, and we're just gonna go. We'll I can't do like 3/4. So in the interest of fairness, I'm just gonna say 3.5.
Okay.
I think it's a really really good, damn fine drink. But I
But the
need to
bar
save
has
room
been
here.
set. Yeah, the
Oh.
bar has been set. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So. And speaking of the bar being set, I have no any idea what that segue is going to lead to. Although then this is the Internet Saloon. There it is, the Internet Saloon. That's the bar thing, right? And by the way, check us out on Instagram page. That's all Topic Thunder Podcast on Twitch. If you're not already there, it's a much cleaner format. We want to get into that algorithm. But anyway, you came here for some dope information, and well, folks, I just have some information. I don't know about the dope, maybe. We talk about the past a lot here, right? We like to kick around the idea that there is a lot of evidence pointing towards several different types of our ancestors, not just the typical cavemen, and then it became just like this general classification of Neanderthal, right? There are several competing ideas, and now we're starting to find evidence that there are several different they call them hominins, right? It's a specific branch of I don't think it's classically Homo sapien, but a creature that you would recognize as distinctly human. 160,000-year-old skull may have been the first Denisovan skull found. Why is that critical? It's because the Denisovans were this missing branch of humanity that kind of grew up and migrated from Africa alongside the Neanderthal.
Okay.
Neanderthal kind of went up Africa and kind of went a little like left. So kind of what we would call modern day, kind of like Western Russia all the way into Europe. And then the Denisovans went to populate kind of Asia, the broader Southeast Pacific, that sort of area too.
Gotcha.
So, and there was a really cool interview with a couple of different people on NPR, the little hour interview segment that they have, actually talking about some of this stuff, and that there are probably 4 or 5 different branches of our ancestor along this timeline that were all intermixing and interbreeding and coming up with all kinds of fantastic DNA soup. So
you can like these different species of beings were running into each other and going, okay, you're close enough to what I know, let's do this thing.
Well, they're genetically compatible.
Yeah.
Which, an alligator and a crocodile, I don't think can mate, right? You would think they look pretty similar, right? That's why, like, when a horse and somebody correct me here, but this is how you get a donkey, and a donkey can't reproduce. It's so we're talking genetics here, right? So there are certain roadblocks that just your DNA won't allow for.
Yeah, it's just not going to go right. Yeah.
So the broad idea here is that through this genetic mix matching come us, right? And the different shades and shapes that we currently are, right? And we're talking 100,000 years ago too. So a long time in our ancestry, but obviously a blink in the eye to the rest of history and humanity. And hello, Mr. Meek.
Yes, we also have punch and pie. I
Punch.
can't, because you said there'd be punch and pie.
We do need to do an absinthe drink, actually. I'm following up with Biz right there. And actually,
the night you do that is the night I'll do mushrooms, and we'll just fucking have a real good fucking fun time on top.
You probably can't do that on a school.
Ted, I knew Ted would be able to. Horse and donkey equal mule.
Mule, thank you, Ted. Thank you very much there. Yeah, so and the mule it can't reproduce. So that's the kind of thing. So if these different types of human, pre-human, prehistoric humans could intermingle genetically, yeah, there's a really strong possibility that what survived the whatever happened, and the great culling or the genetic king of the mountain was probably us. Just more evidence that we don't have a clear understanding of where we exactly came from. And anybody that tries to tell you differently, they're telling you a lie. Bold
Yeah,
face.
and you're right. Like, it's weird. It's like we were this genetic soup that you're talking about, right? It created this super species in a way, like a super intelligent species that was a higher. Because that's really what separates us from the rest, is that we are a much higher intelligence. Or so we thought, right? Or so we have thought all along this time, although it may be different. But that is what has, generally separated us from the Neanderthals and the Denisovans and, different species like that, is that we are more intelligent, or maybe we're not. I don't know.
You'd have to define what intelligence, what that means in the context of the conversation, because there is evidence they built advanced structures. They colored. They had murals. They had paintings. There's evidence that they had formal health, not health, as we would call it, healthcare, but there are bones of Neanderthals that they have found with catastrophic injuries, that if that particular individual did not receive assistance, like an amputated leg or broken leg, they would be dead.
I recently saw an article where they found a skull with a metal plate inserted at a time when there's like that didn't that was done without anesthesia.
As far as we know,
right, and because it didn't exist, we don't think, or
hey,
something.
You just said you wanted to do a bunch of mushrooms. Who's to say they didn't have some kind of herbal concoction that puts you in some sort of trance or that kind of state?
Hayden makes intelligence or consciousness. Some define intelligence as the ability to plan. That's an interesting way to define it.
They made and then again back to this NPR segment. I forgot where it was. It may have been France somewhere, but they found this cave, and inside this cave are like these concentric circles with these very specifically placed piles. What's to note is that this cave is like 300 meters underground, and there's no light, there's no ventilation. Everything that's done there would have had to have been done by torchlight, but they seem to have been purposely put there for who knows what reason at this point.
Right, so crazy.
But again, plan for the future would be they left something permanent, so with the idea that somebody else could find it and maybe decode it someday. The plenty of evidence that they had ceremonies for their dead, with the way they buried their dead. There was this one with like as a dead child or baby, and it was the only time they've seen like flower pollen all over the grave and inside the grave, where they must have buried it with a bunch of like flower petals or so. What's your definition of intelligence? They had a civilization, right?
Let's look at it this way: the leap in progress that our species has had is much greater, it seems, than the Neanderthals and the Denisovans and those types. So that, I guess, that what do you attribute? What could you attribute that to, other than a higher level of intelligence?
And I would counter you with this: from a Neanderthal or Denisovan's point of view, we are actively at war with our home planet, right? We're polluting it. We're building structures that have no point, that have no relevance. We don't respect anything on this planet, so we're doing ourselves. So they would look at that and go, "Well, these guys are fucking idiots. What are you guys doing? There's no clean water. There's no clean air. What the food is all, the soil's terrible." Like that would be their
we're basically a parasite on the planet.
And no doubt they were too. Like they're hunter killers, but there are signs that they had some form of agriculture. They hunted, so they could plan for the future, right? They knew they had to hunt. Lord knows what they were hunting back then. That's woolly mammoth and saber-toothed tiger era. So they were doing all that fun stuff. But just evidence that this amnesia that we have as a species doesn't just go back the 10,000 or so years that the Graham Hancock thing. We don't understand our current model of human being and where it came from, and we're slowly putting that piece of our history back together here too.
Yep, it's so crazy. Every time we fucking fire up these mics, we learn something new. More information is coming out to show us that we don't know shit.
Let me introduce you to story number 2. Speaking of we don't know shit, there is one sentence or a couple sentences in this next story that floored me. And here it is. It's from sci-fi.com. The headline: in 7176 BCE, so BC, about 9,000 or so years ago, the sun erupted in what may be the biggest blast in 10,000 years. The story goes on to detail a series of what we like to talk about, how horrifying and oddly beautiful space is, right? From the story. The universe is scary. There are dangers galore, including black holes, asteroid impacts, supernova explosions, and more. However, these events tend to be far away or extremely rare, so they're nothing really to worry about in your daily life. And there are solar storms. And if there's any astronomical event we need to take very, very seriously, even more so than asteroid or comet impacts, it's these.
God damn it, Brooks. Not only are we learning about how ancient civilization, but every week you're terrifying me with a new fucking natural disaster that we need to worry about. Whether it's a goddamn asteroid the size of Connecticut or it's a fucking volcano that's erupting in the ocean. God damn it, Brooks. You're constantly bringing me stories that are about shit I got to worry about that I have no control over.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The point is to move humanity forward, and Topic Thunder is now the vessel for this movement of humanity. So get on board. Sure, it's a mug. There's no kind of mind-controlled drug built into the ceramic that as you pour a hot liquid in there, slowly ekes out some of this mind control. Don't look at it that way. We haven't put nanobots into the fibers of the t-shirts. It'll be hitting your Amazon lockers soon out there. We haven't thought of that technology here. So why is a solar storm so important? What is the deal, right? Loosely, it's when the sun basically something goes awry on the surface, or sometimes on inside. There are two different storms. There's something that comes from kind of like the core of the sun, and there's something that happens on the corona, the outside shell of the sun. Both are equally dangerous. The one that comes from the outside is a little more prevalent. What does this mean? What does this happen? In 1989, a solar event blew out transformers in Canada, causing a power outage in Quebec. You may have remembered this if you're old enough, because Quebec, the province, was like dark, like no power. You think like that burnout and blackout that happened in New York City 10 or so years ago, you think that was just because our power grid sucks. It had nothing to do with radiation coming from space. And what they do all these like cool ice core samples, right, in Antarctica, and in the North Pole, and they started tracking certain amounts of what they call beryllium-10, and that's what happens. You get beryllium-10 when the solar radiation and energy hits our magnetic sphere, and it causes some isotope called beryllium-10, and that's how they also chlorine-36, which I know everybody's a fan of, and carbon-14. So they can track these molecules and isotopes in our ice cores when they drill down half a mile or however far they're going back for these. And there are spikes in this beryllium-10 in ice cores from 774 AD and 9934 CE. Another in 66. So the one in 774, right? So what we would call our history, our recorded history, the year 774 was a good year for wine. The event was so big At first, scientists didn't think the sun was capable of creating such a storm.
Jesus.
Again, we like to caution you when the scientists drop their pens and go, "What the fuck?"
Right. That's how you know shit's gone down.
It's massive. Uh, the other thing about this particular storm, it happened during a solar minimum, which the sun has an 11-year cycle where it kind of gets stronger and activity is more prevalent, and it kind of dies down. It has a cycle, and it dies down in the middle of that, and then it kind of ramps back up. In 11 years, we've noticed, and some of these storms kind of coincide with most of these maximums. This ginormous one in 774 came at a minimum, a solar minimum, when it was supposed to be all quiet on the solar front here, folks. And we got nailed with that. I found it curious that the one that happened about 9,000 years ago, because that kind of, if you follow that Graham Hancock thing that happened, all the comet fragments slammed the Earth at 12,000 years ago. And then a couple thousand years after that, here comes this ginormous solar event that would normally would have, any technology would have been just absolutely fried. In our modern world, we're talking literally everything in space would just come crashing down into every helicopter, every airplane, everything, you know.
Jesus. I mean, you passed over it there, but I put it up on the screen and kind of highlighted it for people. There was an event in 2012 that missed Earth, but had it not, it could have been the biggest catastrophe of the modern age.
It happened on the other side of the sun as
Right.
we were going. So, like, it truly missed us.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to continue to get this lucky, ladies and gentlemen. That is not going to happen. We are. I've said it before. We're long overdue for a catastrophic event, and we're not going to dodge that bullet many more times. It just doesn't seem possible.
We're going to stay in space.
Yeah, all right.
And talk about just some of the more crazy, cool, and maybe even terrifying things that are going on up there. But this time, this is man-made. Let's talk about our good friends, the Chinese, and all the fun stuff they may be doing in space that we're not quite sure of just yet. This is from thedrive.com. A Chinese satellite just grappled another and pulled it out of orbit.
I'm sorry.
A Chinese satellite was observed grabbing another satellite and pulling it out of its normal geosynchronous orbit and into a super graveyard drift orbit. The maneuver raises questions about the potential applications of these types of satellites designed to maneuver close to other satellites for inspection or manipulation, and adds to growing concerns about China's space program overall. On January 22nd, China's Shenzhen 21 satellite, or SJ-21, disappeared from its regular position in orbit during daylight hours when observations were difficult to make with optical telescopes. SJ-21 was then observed executing a, quote, large maneuver, end quote, to bring it closely alongside another satellite, a dead Beidou navigation system satellite. SJ-21 then pulled the dead satellite out of its normal orbit and placed it a few hundred miles away in what is known as a graveyard orbit. The distant orbits are designed for defunct satellites. It's basically a safe spot to throw your junk and move things in space to kind of we have a junkyard in space of satellite debris. That's how cool we are.
We're polluting space too. We just can't help ourselves.
But think about the implications of that one. Simmer on that one as we discuss the varying types of non-linear warfare.
Yeah, you know, as Hayden points out, Space Force seems really silly now, huh? Like, maybe not. Maybe we do need a force to go fight off fucking satellites, picking up other satellites and fucking throwing them across space.
It's funny because the Space Force is mentioned in the next paragraph. Space Force has been increasingly turning to commercial space companies to provide a variety of data and services to boost its situational awareness. And to that end, the Joint Task Force Space Defense awarded Enel Solutions a contract in 2021 to provide space domain data.
Jesus.
So Yeah, that's what Space Force is doing. They're outsourcing. They're outsourcing this kind of stuff to companies that. How well vetted do you think this company is? You think they really made sure everybody's,
Probably
I don't know, not taking money from the Chinese?
not. Probably not. Speaking of the Chinese, I saw a story this week about some sort of fighter plane, a stealth plane that went down that has some technology on it. Apparently, that we're in a rush to recover that plane to get it before the Chinese get it because there's some sort of technology. I happened to overhear it on the morning news. I believe it was. It was an F-35 jet, which is also that's an interesting story too.
Oh, you mean the one of ours?
Apparently, it's a jet of ours, an F-35 of ours that went down, and we are in a rush to try to recover it before the Chinese get there and recover it because there's some technology there that we don't want them to know about.
So yeah, and I just found the story, but yeah, the F-35 is supposed to be like that next generation fighter that incorporates stealth technology. It's one. It'll be the last fighter plane with a human being in it. We put it like that because everything's super controlled by electronics. But here it is. Yeah, fears that subs from China will claim, which claims the area could be the first to reach records that plunge from the deck of an aircraft carrier. The U.S. Navy is racing to salvage an F-35C fighter from the bottom of the South China Sea after it crashed on an aircraft carrier and plunged overboard, taking with it highly classified technology that would be a coup if China retrieved it first. Yeah, man.
Think about that. What must that technology be that they are like, holy fuck, get it before they do.
Each plane cost over $100 million.
Jesus.
Think about that when we're talking about you can't get masks and COVID tests in schools, and this one plane is $100 million.
Instead of feeding the homeless and finding them homes and jobs, we spend it on fucking stealth plane. Does that fucking do what exactly? Like, what could it possibly do for $100 million that is so fucking necessary? Time travel. What the fuck is it? Like,
so it is kind of cool. There's another problem with it is that this has been legendary for its technological setbacks and production woes. So it has been extended, and they've I forgot if it's Boeing or Lockheed or somebody that they have had to keep coming to the American people, the Congress, and asking for more and more money. So whatever the price tag was, I think we've paid triple now for this. And it's been delayed at least I think like 5 or 10 years to be really honest with you. It is a shame. It's terrible, and this would just completely wipe out the superiority that they thought this particular piece of technology would give them in air combat in a very, very tense and tight area in that South China Sea, with Hong Kong and that Taiwan and in general. This would be a coup. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. So keep your eye on that story.
Yeah, and then they're wrestling, the grabbing satellites with arms, and there's actually some pictures of this thing. It's like a giant net, and it looks like a magnetic. There's some creative thinking going on there as far as, again, what we're talking about, asymmetrical or non-linear warfare. They're thinking about that. In fact, we're going to talk about that a little bit in the big, while the world kind of chuckles and laughs about a story about an Irish fisherman that shuts down the Russian Navy from an exercise. There's let's just say a little deeper story to that. We won't get to that in a big, but first let's get to this. This was sent to us by our very own Ryan Hansen. This is from the U.S. Sun, which it doesn't matter. It's the Sun. You know what it is. It's a trashy rag, is what it is. But we love it anyway. Here's the headline: Out of this world. I gave up a high-flying job and spent $50K on tattoos to become a cyborg.
Yeah.
Not the lightning round. A woman, Lena L. from Germany, who now prefers to go by her cyborg name Signo, gave up her job in tech to become a tattoo artist in San Francisco, California. And they show a picture of Lena, who by all accounts, is an attractive woman.
Look at those tattoos. God damn.
And then there was a before and after, right? So that is old Lena, and this is now Signo, right? Which is equally cool because I think she's pretty beautiful still there, right?
Sure.
To make cash, she's gone into tattooing full time, post racy photos to her 109 followers on Instagram, flaunting her incredible ink work. Signo says she's always been fascinated with body art and wanted to become a living piece of art herself. One day, a switch slipped in her head, and the model started eating healthy, working out regularly, and losing almost 4 stone. In 2010, she got her first tattoo and now has more than 50 all over her body, including on her head, face, breasts, and butt. Hold on. We're going to get to this in just a second here. She even has horns inserted under her facial skin and a silicone ring put on her chest, and hopes to split her tongue in half in the future. She also has breast implants and nose surgery, piercings, stretched earlobes, shaved head, bald to give her a striking new look. Where is the line?
Gigi asks, great question. Should we hook her up with that weird Belgian bodybuilder guy that's into fucking weird inanimate objects?
This is I don't know, because this is actually a live human being. I don't think our friend.
This reminds me of the story of the lady that like got surgery and tattoos to look like a lion or like a cat. Remember that story? Remember that lady? Like this reminds me of that same thing where they like someone goes really, really overboard to completely change their. The guy that wanted to be a lizard. So
I remember the lizard guy. He did split his tongue, right? Which is
Jesus.
This is the line that really got me, and it got me thinking of a bigger, broader aspect of psychology, I guess you want to say. This is a quote from Signa, or whatever her name is. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror, and I needed to change in order to feel better about myself. My first and one of my biggest transformations was definitely my weight loss a couple of years back. I lost over 50 pounds, changed my diet, hit the gym hard. It's like a switch that flipped in my head. I understood that the only way to truly become whoever you want to be was to work towards it every single day. I feel like I'm still myself, just a better version.
Okay. All right.
Which
I'm not going to hate.
No, there's nothing to hate. But this echoes what you hear from trans people.
Mm-hmm.
This echoes what you hear from other segments of like the LGBTQ plus kind of community too, that they weren't comfortable in that whatever specific little silo that society and educators and religious figures and politicians we all kind of fall in, right? The family structure. This is how we did it, so this is how you're going to do it. But here we have a growing section of our populace that are literally saying, yeah, that's not me though. Here I am.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. I good for them. And power to you.
Cool. That's awesome. And whatever makes you feel comfortable. Hayden asked an interesting question. Asked if we had seen the weird RFID implants. You could store for your debit card literally in the palm of your hand. So that's cyborg shit, not breast implants and tattoos. I know I've heard of it, I've seen of it, but I haven't looked much into it. But that sounds crazy. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I don't care how good the technology gets. I'm not implanting anything in my body. I don't get tattoos because I don't want to go through the pain of it. There's zero motherfucking chance that I am implanting anything under my skin. Fuck that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even.
Like,
if you were to, it'd be cool, but you can put that in my watch.
It can't be that good of a convenience. Exactly. Put it in my watch. I'll wear it when I want to. But I'm not implanting anything. I don't care. There's not enough convenience that you could provide me. Just swipe your titty across my phone and I'll email the receipt.
Before we get to the big, we're gonna jump back out into space, and I found a really, 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 really cool picture. A picture that took almost 3 years to put together, and it's of the Milky Way. Like you've never ever seen it before. I mean that. I've never seen it before. I don't know how many other people are interested in this kind of stuff, but that's the Milky Way. and what it looks like under a radio telescope. In fact, the world's most sensitive radio telescope, which is a bunch of radio antennas spread out about 5 miles, so 5 square miles, and it kind of zooms in and listens to radio waves as they come in. And if you look at it from the side, that's what we're looking at, our galaxy from the side, because we're kind of in one of the far out spirals out in the Higgs of the galaxy. But that thing in the center right there, that is not the Eye of Sauron. That is the black hole that is in the center of the galaxy. And Ben, if you kind of scroll down, they kind of zoom in on that.
Okay.
That magnificent structure in the middle of our galaxy. And what you're seeing around it now are like filaments and that stuff swirling around the black hole. That's matter being absorbed into the black hole.
Jesus.
Right. And then they kind of even zoom in a little bit more to what they call the Mouse Nebula.
What?
This is crazy. So the middle left of that particular little, again, this is all out in outer space. This is not under a microscope right now. This is again 3 years worth of data to put this picture together, right?
God damn.
So that Mouse
It's like the
Nebula,
cover of an Evanescence album.
that little mouse thing right there
Uh-huh.
is a pulsar. The pointy nose is a pulsar, a highly magnetized, rotating collapsed star core of a massive star that was first detected in 2002. The faint tail of the mouse is because the pulsar is moving at supersonic speed. It's moving at a few 100 kilometers per second,
God damn.
which is faster than the sound of speed, and it's leaving a tail behind it like a boat.
Holy shit.
That's what that's what we have a picture of. That's going on out there.
That is frightening.
And then the last picture that it shows a super zoomed in, almost perfect spherical shape. And this is the remnant of a supernova. So that's when a star absolutely collapses on itself and then explodes outward, decimating everything. It's a fantastic amount of energy.
Yeah.
These little bombs are. And it
That makes a great point in the comments here. Anyone ever realize these images do look like cells under a microscope?
Sure, you can make all of those. Neurons, absolutely.
Is it just ironic? Is it just coincidental, or is there something more to that?
They always said, "As above, so below." So maybe that's what they've been trying to tell us all along: is that it's just one big universal intelligence here. We're all kind of dialed into the same thing, and to have these little intertribal squabbles about things that don't really exist. It's kind of futile, and we're missing the point, right? Because there's this out there.
Yep. Well, I know we're going to get to the big next, but I think this is the perfect spot. Brooks, we told folks that have been watching along with us that we were going to try some new endeavors in 2022. We were going to try to do some different things with the show. And so for the first time, we actually did our first interview via Topic Thunder. We decided in the best interest of everybody involved, we would record these separate and not do them live on the air, because we know how technical difficulties can fucking raise his fucking head. And it was a good thing we did. Yeah, and it was a good thing we did, because the very first endeavor into interviewing did have its hiccups. It would have been disastrous had we tried to do it live. It was not fun. But what we did end up with, which is about almost 40 minutes of an interview with my good friend Edward Payson, filmmaker. Excuse me, I can hear the frog in my throat. And he's got a new film that he's shopping around right now. It's a documentary about video game collecting. And we go a lot into that, and we get into his background and everything. So I wanted to play a quick clip so you guys can get some flavor of what the interview is all about. But we're not going to do all 38 minutes of the interview right here in the middle of the show. We're not going to do that. What we are going to do is I'm going to put it on the Topic Thunder Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. So if you do want to see the interview in its entirety, you can find it there. And we really hope you do, because he's got some fun stories. I just took like about a 2.5 minute or so clip here of what is really interesting conversation. So Brooks, any thoughts on the interview before we hit it?
I love the conversation about the video games and just hearing and seeing some of the prices for these super nostalgic games that, even at the time when you had to, try to justify to your parents 45 or $50 for a video game, and now that video game's, scoring 12 grand. And I'm like, oh my God, I had that.
Yes. So, all right, without further ado, let's play this clip. And on the other side, we'll come back with the big.
And we talked to all these different collectors all over the place. We didn't just talk to people who collected games. Like, we talked to this one guy, that guy who had the Wii in Holland. Mm-hmm. He only collects consoles. He doesn't collect games. He only collects consoles, and he has over like 350 consoles. And he has like the entire the GameCube collection, even ones that were like only given away in magazines as like prizes or on Facebook or places like that. So like that golden Wii is one of like 10 of one of a kind products that he has that are actually licensed. Nice. That he like literally will track people down and pay huge sums of money for, or travel, across the country or across the world to pick something up and then travel back because he doesn't, trust the shipping or something like that. So we have a lot of stories like that, and then a lot of just, a lot of stories about people getting things, at yard sales and stuff that they go on to find out is worth so much more, or they know that they're paying $5 for something that's worth like, thousands of dollars. Like we, one of the biggest criticisms is we have Dennis Kahn in the film, who's the head of WADA. But we don't just talk to him as the head of WADA. Like the way we set him up in the film is he has a whole segment where he talks about being a video game collector first, and then we introduce him as the head of WADA. So you see that when he was 14 years old, he went to a yard sale with his dad and paid $2 for stadium events, which is now a $35,000 game. And back then, for $2, he knew it was a $35,000 game. And he just talks about how he was like shaking and stuff. And we actually have the footage of him back then after with his parents, like just talking about how he just got so much, money worth of games for $2 a piece. And we have a bunch of those kinds of stories in there. And then the ones that we don't actually have footage of, we have some funny reenactments. We have one guy, a really funny one where a guy talks about how he got invited to look at these video games by this girl, but really she was bringing him back to have a threesome with her and her husband. But they had like $160,000 worth of games just scattered around this like trailer on the ground. So he's like, oh, I won't take the sex, but I'll take the game. So he'd have a whole reenactment of this whole him going to the trailer park, and yeah, people love that. There's a funny cameo in it.
And we're back. Oh, where's your mic? Where'd your mic go? I can't hear you, Brooks. Did you turn your mic off? Did you? You did. That is a rookie mistake.
Yeah. Well, at least I didn't flub up in the first minute of the show, which was the last two shows. So it took me to, I don't know, probably 40 minutes in to make my first big flub. But yeah, rookie mistake. I got to put money in the jar, right? So you may have seen the real kitschy, feel-good story out there about a bunch of Irish fishermen that were going to go out on naval exercises and right in front of the Russian Navy that were conducting their own naval exercises to kind of deter them. And everybody's like, look at the Irish fishermen. They're so cute. You
look at it. No one said that, by the way.
You thwarted off the mighty Russian Navy. Oh, look, listen to the tone of this article, and we're just going to go right to like the evil and dreaded CNN. How a group of Irish fishermen forced the Russian Navy into a U-turn. A fishing community in the southern tip of Ireland breathed a sigh of relief this weekend after the Russian government gave in to appeals from local fishermen who said naval drills orchestrated by Moscow off the coast could endanger their livelihoods. I'm shocked, really, the head of the Irish-based South and West Fish Producers Organization told CNN Saturday evening, shortly after the news of Russia's change of plans broke. Quote, I didn't think the little old us would have the impact on an international diplomacy. Amid the ongoing crisis on the border with Ukraine, tensions between Russia and the West continue to simmer. Moscow's armed forces had planned to run exercises about 150 miles off the Irish coast in Ireland's exclusive economic zone, a part of the Atlantic Irish fishermen said is critical to their livelihoods. The exercises would have involved the use of naval artillery and a launching of rockets, according to notice issued by Ireland's Department of Transportation last week, which advised there would be serious safety risks in the operational area. Ahead of the planned drills, originally due to take place in early February, residents of the town told CNN they were worried and anxious about the dangers. What they go on to describe is that they set up basically a round table 24/7 watch system. That one boat would always go out into their protected waters. And when that boat was done, another one would meet it. So there always was representation there from this little Irish fishing community against the dreaded Russian Navy. Mm-hmm. So the Russian Navy, and if you read the press release, it's all just fun and games and tongue-in-cheek stuff. But the Russian Navy basically says, all right, we'll listen to you guys want.
No.
Here's what they're not telling you. Here's something that we mentioned actually last week. Let me take you back to a little story that broke from our good friends at The Guardian. And this was, I don't see a date on here. Oh,
January 31st, 2022.
Actually, this one was January 8th of this year.
Okay, that one. Gotcha.
Just a little bit of a reminder, because I'm going to tie this back together. Of course, I wouldn't lead you guys astray on this one, because this is kind of neat, and this is Topic Thunder. This is the meat of Topic Thunder. Here is the headline: UK military chief warns of Russian threat to vital undersea cables. Admiral Tony Radakin said any attempt by submarines at damage would be treated as an act of war. The head of the UK's armed forces has warned that Russian submarine activity is threatening underwater cables that are crucial to the communication systems around the world. The admiral said undersea cables that transmit internet data are the, quote, real world's information system, end quote, and added any attempt to damage them would be considered an act of war.
So maybe if I'm putting two and two together, and I know that's what you're trying to make me do, that little thing that was interrupted by the fishermen was probably some bullshit like this.
Interesting, right? Let's take you to a story from AtlanticCouncil.org, which I got via a link through Drudge Report. For anybody that ever questions it, I don't get my information from every source possible. This was posted on Drudge Report.
There you go. That is the depths of right-wing hell.
It truly is sometimes, but this is undisputed right here.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. Ukrainian internet traffic is also carried over land. Well, hold on. I think this is going to go. Okay. So they're already bringing up the idea that the Russians are threatening these underwater cables. In fact, in that previous article, that admiral goes on to say that the Russians have increased their capability of doing so over the last 20 years exponentially. Yet, and here's from this story from AtlanticCouncil.org. Yet, if the standoff over Ukraine intensifies, the Kremlin might calculate that such a move is worth the risk and would disrupt internet communications in the rest of the country too. In that scenario, Russian military and intelligence assets in Crimea would have their internet access disrupted. At the same time, it would create panic in the rest of Ukraine and limit the international community's visibility into further Russian actions. That's all very, very on brand, right?
Yes.
This disturbs even more than that. In the most globally damaging scenario, the Russian military could target any of a dozen submarine cables linking other parts of Europe to the global internet, and by which extension may carry traffic originating to and from Ukraine. For instance, there are 16 internet cables touching Ireland. where Russia is about to stage naval exercises. And cutting some of those cables, which connect Norway, the United Kingdom, Iceland, and the United States, would damage the flow of global internet traffic and would take several hours or even days to repair.
And then the last part of that, it could also considerably distract those countries from other world events.
So absolutely.
Right? The game is not to cut the cables and just say, ha ha ha, that is what I'm doing. That's the distraction, right? That's to get your attention. That's the magician's trick. Like, look over here because this hand over here is doing something else.
But it's also a tit for tat because we're threatening the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is supposed to go from Russia into Germany and deliver Russian natural gas to Germany. It's one of the reasons Germany doesn't want to actually go through with like a bunch of pussies. They don't want to go through with any kind of like, and I don't mean to use that word in derogatory, but I guess I did. But they're being really weak on this subject because they don't want to threaten and we've talked about it, right, for sure. But just the internet cable thing, right? What is that? And what are we talking about? I found a map. So that last link to really get a scope of what we're talking about here, and let's not play that if you only think the Russians are looking in that particular spot at these cables, you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong. And you can zoom in. Ben, kind of works like a Google map there. And you can see those cables coming from Ireland and how they kind of loop back and connect the rest of, basically the world to Europe. But that's what we're talking about. And again, don't think that there's just one Russian submarine checking this stuff out. They've been doing this for years. In fact, I found a website that that listed highly trained beluga whales and dolphins as potential weapons.
Shut up.
The United States has done research on training dolphins to find things. So it wouldn't be. There's actually a really sad story of a beluga whale that the Russians like trained and then let go, and it can't find its pack anymore. And it's always apparently it's got some kind of ball that it's always like kicking around some ball by it. But it's all by itself because they're and all they would do is strap some explosives to this animal and blow it up by these cables, and that's what I mean. So because some of these submarines can't dive that deep if they really wanted to fuck with you. Some submarines we're talking the big classic submarines that were boom, boom, dive, but we're also talking about like
by the way, two different people in the chat simultaneously thought the same thing. This is starting to sound like a lightning round topic. Train whales, that's a lightning story.
Yeah, for sure, and that just gives you maybe a hint about what the lightning round might hold, because there's some several stories that they had to kind of make their way into the headlines here. And don't discount if you just kind of zoom over to like Southeast Asia. If you look at all the internet cable fun over there too, we're not just talking about one isolated, hey, we're just going to cut those cords over there by the Irish coast. If Russia, this is strategy. This is a doctrine. This is a plan, right? There's when you attack a pattern Putin, that would be one of these things that they would do, right? If they shut down that they destroy the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, or economic sanctions get too egregious for the Russians, their mistresses, wives, and all the companies that they're all divested in and stuff. So I thought that it was really important to know, like, that when I floated the idea that the Russians, like, they're checking out our internet cables with submarines, it's no bullshit. And that whole fucking story that about the cute Irish fishermen, like, going out in their tugboats, I'm fishing out here in the Irish Sea. Like, no, man, there is so much more to that story going on.
Real shit that was going down. It may have just been a training exercise, but what were they training for, right?
Yeah, what were they placing? Possibly, if they were just saying, "Oh yeah, we're just going to shoot some rockets." Well, what's inside the rockets? Why?
And why are you doing that? Yeah.
Anything going to the ocean floor at that point should have been considered a threat. But hey, speaking of threats, let's just be honest. When's the last time you've heard somebody getting struck by lightning? Because you're all about to get struck by the lightning round, which takes place in a wonderfully climate-controlled thunder, which we all famously know when 3 stories enter, only one will get red. And you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Thunderdome in the Topic Thunder universe, TTU, you guys decide.
This is what y'all came for.
This is what you guys are here for. And holy smokes, are we happy to oblige? There will be no dilly-dally. We're going to get straight to it as soon as my damn story loads. Headline Number one. Man beaten with metal skillet after declining an offer of potatoes.
Okay.
Headline number 2. Woman arrested after offering a mother $500,000 for her baby in a Walmart checkout line.
Oh my God. All right, that's Creepsville Central.
And DeWalt recalls chainsaws that can keep running after they've been switched off.
What? All right, hit me with those again. I got to absorb them all again. Hold on.
Get ready for reabsorption. Headline number 1. Man beaten with metal skillet after declining an offer of potatoes. Headline number 2. Woman arrested after offering a mother $500K for her baby while in line at the Walmart checkout. And headline number 3. DeWalt recalls chainsaws that can keep running after being switched off.
All right, here we go. Here's our favorite part of the segment. Ryan Hansen, Mr. Skillet Head,
Yes.
Mo Money, Mo Babies, and the everlasting chainsaw.
The man's got talent.
Yes.
Amen, sir.
All right, so we've got to vote for the Skillet Man. It looks like Hayden is voting for number 2. Texas Ted is going with the baby story. I want to know what kid is worth that much money, he says. Man gets hurt, Skillet remix, DJ Potato. Walmart option. So there's another baby story. Skillet
All
Man.
right, Jordan. So I think we're tied 3-3 here.
Ryan Hansen going with number 1, Skillet Man. Then the Walmart baby coming in with a vote.
We're tied 4-4.
Might have to break the tie here.
Uh-oh.
Here's hitting none of them.
Let me go back and make sure everybody's vote got counted there. CJ, Courtney.
Is Adrian listening, or is she?
I don't see Courtney's vote either.
Oh yeah, Courtney did not vote either, and Courtney surely she's listening, right?
Yeah, we'll hold on. Maybe Courtney will decide. Skillet
is the person still wanting a kid for that much. Are you willing to sell one of yours, Ted?
So let me as we go. I think we're gonna have a winner here. Pending any.
Although the baby getting sold for $500K is interesting, but you expect that kind of. Where did that? Can we just, if that doesn't win, can we at least find out where that happened? Because I'm guessing Florida.
We may we may give some details there, but let the people have spoken. And let's give them what they want. Your winner for the lightning round.
If anybody's looking for a kid to buy a kid for $500K, Ted has got a bunch of them. He says.
See, honestly, the first thing I thought when I saw the story, I was thought that line, that scene from Blues Brothers. Your children, your little girls, sell them to me. How much for the little girl? The headline that won: man beaten with metal skillet after declining an offer of potatoes. Police say. Thornhurst, Pennsylvania. A man was arrested after being accused of beating another person with a metal skillet who refused an offer of potatoes, according to state police. Police say a 27-year-old man was frying potatoes in hot oil on a metal skillet and offered them to a 32-year-old victim who declined. That's when a man became suddenly enraged and threw the hot frying oil and potatoes into the victim's face
Oh!
without warning. Authorities say he went on to beat the person so hard with the skillet that the handle snapped off. The victim was taken to the hospital and treated for burns and significant head injury. The man cooking the potatoes faces several charges, including aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Holy shit. Like, that seems extreme. Like, there was more to that story. It wasn't just the, he didn't want the potatoes. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Because to snap off the handle of a skillet is not that's not easy to do.
It would enrage, just like, no, bro, no, thanks.
This does sound like something that could have happened on Sunday morning at OBT.
I think we would have heard the fight back in the kitchen while like it looms in that corner booth, nursing hangovers at coffee and omelets.
Yeah, he broke the handle of a skillet, beating a dude with it. Like, they're downplaying the story a little bit. Like, the story does not give you I don't know that, like, it feels like they're not really telling you how awful it is. Like, a hot skillet where you're frying potatoes. First of all, that skillet was really fucking hot. If you were frying fucking potatoes in it, that bitch was hot as fuck to begin with. Then you beat him so goddamn hard, you snapped off the handle of a metal skillet. I'm surprised the guy's not dead.
Well, I think that's why they put deadly weapon, right? Because a significant head injury, you probably, let's just say, at the least, cracked his skull, right? Which could have caused untold damage to his brain and all kinds of tissue there, right? So to charge him with an assault with a deadly weapon and knowing it was just a frying pan, yeah, man, he messed that dude up.
Yeah.
He messed him up good.
And they must have been really fucking good potatoes. Like, you better eat these goddamn potatoes. You know how hard I worked on these potatoes?
Man, I just, what? Did they know each other? Was there...
It's not like a cartoon, right? Like, I think people are picturing, like, getting hit in the head with a skill. It's like, in the cartoons, right? Like, no, dude. That dude's skull was caved in with a fucking skillet.
It had to have been. We won't go. Let's see. Well, you know what? Just because y'all wanted to see it, and it was a really close tie. I'll give you story number 2. I'll do that for you.
I love it. Yes, let's
do it for you. All right. Well, a woman sits in a... Take your pick. What state? Can we just get a...
It's got to be Florida. It has to be Florida. If it's anything other than Florida, I'd be stunned.
That's one for Florida. Anywhere else? Again, this is the baby.
Baby being offered for sale, or not offered for sale, or proposed for sale. Indiana. Yeah, that's another good one. Indiana might be a good choice.
We got Florida, Indiana.
This trafficking is bad here. Oklahoma. Okay.
I'm just going to say we have a winner.
Yeah, Texas again. Louisiana, Ohio.
Wow, man, we got some fucked up states.
Everybody's got their own state that they think is just fucking wild.
Wow. All right. So that's the list. That's like no longer okay. Well, this happened in your home state of Texas. Ben.
No shit. There you go.
Yeah. A woman sits in a Texas jail tonight after offering $500,000 to a woman at Walmart in exchange for her child. All of this while standing in line at the self-checkout, according to police. The messenger reported that Rebecca Lynette Taylor, always 3 names, a 49-year-old woman from Crockett. Where's Crockett, Texas? Because that like East and West Texas, that's a different.
It is like a completely different country, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was charged with the sale and purchase of a child, even though you didn't make a. All right, I guess like you were trying to. I guess you would have, but if you see her mugshot, like you look at her, you go, does that look like a woman that has $500,000 cash?
It's just north. It's north of Houston, so it's in East Texas.
Okay. Well, the Crockett Police Department indicated an officer was on patrol on January 13th when she received a phone call from the mother of the child saying, quote, a white woman with blonde hair approached her in Crockett Walmart, 2 hours north of Houston, wanting to purchase her son. That is one hell of a description for a female Caucasian in Texas. She's a white woman with blonde hair. Wow, right. We'll get it right away.
Narrows it down to about half.
Trying to buy a baby
one because you could also that'll narrow it down even more.
Taylor told the mother that she had 250 grand cash in the car and would pay that much for him. The mother told her no amount of money would do. Thank you. There's some semblance of sanity here. Once outside in a parking lot, Taylor confronted the mother again and asked to buy the baby. The affidavit said Taylor told the mother she had been wanting to buy a child for a long time. Quote, Taylor began screaming at the mom, saying that if she wouldn't take the 250 grand for him, then she would give her 500,000 because she wanted him and she was going to take him. You stupid son of a bitch! You're not going to give me your baby for 250,000. I'm going to give you 500,000. I'm taking him.
Imagine that conversation.
That's the logic.
I'm surprised this is against the law, though. Like it's crazy. But like, what law did she break? I wonder. I'm sure we'll get to it.
That's what actually the reporter is asking. Like, why was she charged with purchase and the sale of a child? That doesn't make sense to me. Unless she was on her way to a rep video, why would she have 250K cash in her car and leaving it sitting in a Walmart parking lot? Why is she sitting in jail on a $50,000 bond if she had $500,000 to buy a baby? Or why is she in Walmart at all?
By the way, Ted with the comment of the fucking day, that bitch would give me another $500,000 to take mine back.
Apparently it was a setup, yes, for the lady to take the baby and not pay a dime. So that was this lady's brilliant plan, is to first of all, assuming that somebody wants to sell their child and was willing to do it right there in the Walmart parking lot. And it was going to, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Do you want me to just, just give me the baby. I got the money out in the car. Again, Blues Brothers, right? Oh, yeah. Hey, you boys drink a lot of beer. You owe me money. Oh, let me go get our traveler's checks. They're in the car. My brother and I, we both have to sign them. So we'll be right back. What? Unbelievable. Texas, ladies and gentlemen. Texas is the new Florida, or vice versa. Take your pick. But yeah, that's it. That was a twofer right there. In a rare instance that another story survives the Thunderdome, which again will be possible for everybody here in the chat room. The only podcast that I know of that actively takes the feedback from their listening audience and applies it to real world situations like we just did, and we're better for it the way I see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for being a part of the show. I know Ben appreciates it, and I know I appreciate it. One of a kind, truly. Ben, you got Now and Then Wrestling coming up?
Oh, yeah. Every Thursday night, 9 p.m. We will be talking Royal Rumble.
I watched that. That
well, did
piece
you?
of trash.
Yeah,
that was garbage.
It was total hot garbage. Yes, every moment of it. But yes, and then we're watching an old Smoky Mountain Wrestling show.
See, I want in on some of that, so I'm going to weasel my way into that gimmick sooner than later. But you've been listening to Topic Thunder aboard the USS Rapapa.